It's episode 8 of the BookNerd podcast. On today's episode, I ramble about a few topics, and then we get into a conversation I had with filmmaker Jonathan Hacker. Let's get to it. In the time since our last episode, I've had the opportunity to check a few things out. To start, I was able to check out Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp. To give a non-spoiler review, I really liked this film. I feel like it did a great job of working off of what was established in Ant-Man and made good use of what happened in Captain America Civil War to set up some of the plot of this movie. The entire cast does a great job throughout the film, and while Evangeline Lilly's character Hope was in the first movie, she gets her turn in the super suit this time out and she steals the show. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a fun action comedy that had me laughing throughout my entire viewing. I could easily watch it again. A much-needed laugh after the way Marvel's preceding movie, Infinity War, left us all sitting in theater shocked as the credits rolled. Something else I finally checked out was Ready Player One, both the book and the movie. Okay, so I listened to the audiobook, but I did find myself constantly needing to know what was happening next. I really enjoyed the world built and the narrative of the story. Since I was born in the 80s, the boatload of references used throughout the book were pretty cool to hear. They helped drive the story, and the action scenes in the book were also enjoyable. The day I finished the book, the film by the same name, directed by Steven Spielberg, was released for digital download. I grabbed the UHD version and dove right in. As a disclaimer, I was already aware the film did not follow the book 100%, as if they ever do. There was no way to fit all of that book into a single movie, so I knew what to expect going in. I did enjoy the movie, though. Enough of it was changed to where it was kind of like a different story, but not this different. It's really hard to explain, but visually, like, it's stunning. I love the way the Oasis looks. And I was trying to constantly spot all the Easter eggs Spielberg had hid in the movie about finding a literal Easter egg. If this is a book or movie you have never checked out, I would easily recommend it, especially if you grew up with video games and you love pop culture. Before we get to the interview, a quick reminder to head over to BookNerd.com to read up on all the latest articles, as well as to look for the current giveaway contest posting. Just look for the posting, labeled Christmas in July Giveaway Hop. Also be sure to sign up for the mailing list to stay up to date on all things BookNerd. Now we move on to the conversation I had with Jonathan Hacker, a filmmaker who was nice enough to give us his time and talk to us about his documentary titled Path of Blood. It is a documentary constructed entirely of found footage that gives a unique look at the side of Al-Qaeda that no one ever sees. Let's check this out. Hey Book Nerds, it's Mark and we're talking with Jonathan Hacker today. He's a filmmaker and he's here to talk to us about his new project, Path of Blood. Jonathan, how you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
Oh, fantastic. So now, Path of Blood to me is a very unique project. It's a documentary and it's about a particular Al-Qaeda campaign, but I don't think I'm the right person to describe this project. What can you tell us about Path of Blood?
Okay, so basically, it came about when we managed to get access to two collections of footage. One was a collection of a couple of hundred hours of captured Al-Qaeda videotapes, which the Saudi security forces had seized from Al-Qaeda safe houses. And then alongside that, we also managed to obtain from them a collection of probably about 300 hours of CSI-type footage that their police and special forces had shot, whether it was police cameramen filming the aftermath of explosions and shootouts, or special forces cameramen filming them in the process of raiding and being in gunfights with the Al-Qaeda units themselves. And when we got both sets of footage, I could see that there was the potential to tell an amazing cat-and-mouse style thriller, telling the story of this campaign that took place from roughly 2003, and then it kind of got defeated at 2006, but kind of dribbled on until 2009. So it covers that time frame. But when we put the film together, we cut it in such a way that I hope that people will see that there's a sort of, although it takes place in a historic period, there's some universal stuff there about the ways in which Al-Qaeda think and behave that is as important today as it ever was.
Okay, wow. Now, it isn't my understanding that you also worked on a book by the same name?
Yeah, so That's right. So when we got access to this, we started doing a book immediately because we were doing these amazing interviews with Saudi Special Forces guys and counter-terrorism people and experts, revealing stuff that had never been told before. But we just took the decision that all the information and the exposition and the context that should go in a book. The written page is what that works so well at. But the story, the pure narrative, should be what the film was about. The film. You know, when you read a novel, it doesn't have exposition. Well, a badly written novel might have exposition, but the storytelling, you know, it should be immersive. You live the story, and so we wanted to try. We felt that there was a potential to do that in the film, and so we just have the minimum amount of commentary to help you understand the story, and these little interludes between the scenes to move the story forward. So that, I think, had the effect on the audience, and it makes them feel more immersed in the story, more caught up in it, and allows more room for their imagination and for their own thought processes to take place, because the footage is incredibly thought-provoking.
Now, from what I've seen of this, it looks like, and you had all these hundreds of hours of footage to go through, what were the challenges of trying to go through all of it, or were there challenges, I should ask, of trying to go through and actually weave this narrative with this project that you did?
Well, like an iceberg, all the work is beneath the surface, so yes, it was a vast job, involved, you know, watching the footage, logging it, trying to identify who was in the shots. You know, it wasn't like we knew, or even sometimes even the security services didn't even know who it was, who these individuals were, and so we'd have to do, you know, frame grabs and try to put pictures on the walls of this face and that face, so we kind of cross-identifying them across the different scenes. We had to log, and not just log it, but translate it all to work out what it was they were saying. You know, our working language in the production was English, but the language, you know, the tapes were, they never had, neither the police nor the terrorists obviously used sound recorders, so the sound was terrible in places, and they were using a lot of Bedouin dialect and a lot of slang, so it was a lot of work, but we had an excellent team, and just through perseverance, really, we managed to get through it all. But you needed to be thorough if you're going to find these gems, because obviously there was a lot of dross in amongst all this material, hours of boring stuff, but suddenly you would find these incredible moments, outtakes from a suicide video, or images that just suddenly caught your eye that were amazing. You know, it can be something really banal, like a plastic bag blowing down the street before a gunfight. You know, just strange little images. Or there was another image that caught my eye, I remember, where you see Al-Qaeda praying, and as they bow down to pray, it reveals the row of Kalashnikovs and RPGs that they've got lined up on the wall in front of them. So yes, they're praying towards the Kaaba in Mecca, but they're actually praying towards their guns, you know, and there's something metaphorical in that. You know, and there's loads and loads of images like that throughout the film that really caught my eye and thought were very cinematic.
Yeah, there's a lot of images where the soldiers are praying. You know, they know where they're praying, but from what we visually see, they are praying to their arms and their ammunitions and whatnot.
Yeah, violence is what they see themselves as warriors of old. They've got this very romantic conception of who and what they are, and that belief structure that they've created for themselves is what in their mind makes what they do holy.
Now,
that's the tragedy of it.
I do want to ask, just to clarify, out of my own curiosity, this is 100% footage that you guys procured, right? There's nothing that you guys added in or anything like that?
Well, we got some of the stuff was propaganda stuff off the internet because it wasn't captured. There's some of the material, almost all the material was captured, but not all of it. So there's some stuff that we had to get off the internet.
Okay, well...
Of cut stuff. So on that last sequence in 2009, some of that stuff was from the security services, but some of that stuff was from an Al-Qaeda propaganda video that they produced. But we can't, by cross-cutting it, you're able to see what's really going on behind the scenes.
Right. Well, the point of my question was that you guys didn't sit up and shoot like any extra interludes to help with the story or anything like that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was very important in the film, that each scene you're in the moment, in the real-time moment of the scene. It's all found footage, as you know, in documentary terms, you call it found footage.
Right.
It's all found footage, and that's what makes it the film so immersive, and it's that sense of visceral reality.
Yeah, the reason why I wanted to ask that is because you mentioned a few seconds ago about the outtake of, from suicide videos and stuff like that, because it's not much of a spoiler to say that in the first scene, the guy that they're talking to, he's laughing and everyone's making him laugh off camera and stuff like that. And it's just like, to me, obviously they would edit the video before they would ever post something like this, but it was just very eerie to see that they're laughing, they're smiling, they're cracking jokes, and it's just very strange to see.
Yes, I think the film will be eye-opening for the audience. That Al Qaeda want you to see that, and ISIS. They produce their propaganda videos, and they all look heroic in these shots, or they want to be seen as heroic. What we see here are their outtakes, their fluffs, their bloopers, the stuff when they're off their guard, and it's what shows them to be human beings, and to reveal stuff that they wouldn't want you to see about how, in some cases, how idiotic some of them are, how naive some of them are, or how callous some of them are in some cases. That they are, you see certain individuals being manipulative or being sadistic. So we get to reveal some, the bigger picture. And I think that's incredibly important. In the West, we tend to view Al Qaeda as two-dimensional villains, and I think it's so important that we see them as human beings. Yes, as evil human beings, they are evil, but we have to understand their psychology and their ideology.
It's important to understand that, as you said, they are human beings. They're not simply monsters, because you can have evil monsters, but you can also have people that are misguided or bad intention.
Yeah, I mean, they are obviously misguided and have evil intent, but in their own mind, with what comes across in the film is the extent to which they feel they're doing God's duty, that they're on the vanguard of destiny, that they're, they have a romantic conception of themselves as kind of warrior knights from the 7th century, following in the footsteps of their conquering ancestors, and that's their framework of reference, and we have to understand that.
Yeah, a completely different view of the spectrum. You're used to seeing any Hollywood movie, so to speak. They're well edited, produced, and everything like that. If you saw, all of the B-reels and all of the mistakes that they take, it's completely different sense of the industry.
Right.
Jonathan, you said you had a very good team working on this, going piece by piece, doing screen grabs. How many people did you guys have working on this project?
Gosh, well, we had about 10 translators, people working through the footage, had a primary, one of the best members of the team was our editor, Peter Haddon, who is brilliant, who worked day and night. We had 2 extra editors working in the background as well to support him, of the normal range of production assistants. So it was just a lot of hard work over a long period of time.
And over a long period of time, how long? Now,
I suppose we took about a year, I guess. But not all of those people were around for the whole year. And then, of course, it took a while for us to get the film out to distributors, so we made changes as time went on. Initially, we just had, so in an earlier phase of the film, we had text cards rather than commentary in the interlude, stuff like that. So, the film evolved. We kind of finished it, and then we started it again. It's a difficult process, making serious documentary.
Going back to the opening scenes, now I know all of this stuff is basically, like you described it, it's found footage, basically. And in between these clips, you just have kind of a static, snow screen. Throughout the duration of the documentary, because I know you said this takes place over several years, we're not following, there's no way to tell, we're not following the exact same people, right? It's just the overall story.
Exactly. There are a couple of phases. I mean, basically the way in which we're telling the story is that you've got a group of Al Qaeda people. You in terms of storytelling, you see them as a group. You have scenes with specific individuals, and some of them appear in, let's say, a few scenes, but mostly this group die off and another group replace them. There's not that much continuity, but there's enough, I think, to have a sense of collective identity, and you feel like you've met them through the course of watching the film.
Okay.
And that's, I think, and I think that's what makes it disturbing. When you watch the film, is you realise how ordinary people, because you are struck by how ordinary they are. They just seem like college kids, and you get struck by how ordinary people can get sucked into committing these of evil. But there's a sort of universal quality, I think, to the film. So the film obviously is set in this time frame. It is ultimately about Al-Qaeda and their belief structure. But if you step back and think about the film, you also realise that there have been other movements in the past, other political and religious movements in the past that have done things very similar. You know, whether you're talking about people, let's say, young, naive, idealistic Germans, let's say, in the 1930s, believing they were fulfilling racial destiny by joining the Hitler Youth or what have you, or the SS, or you've got revolutionary Marxist groups feeling that they were fulfilling class destiny in the actions they were taking. There's something about the human condition where we perhaps want to have simple political causes to get behind, groups in which we can feel identity and belonging, and enemies that we can hate. So there's something terribly dark about the human soul sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very reminiscent of Germany and stuff like that. You have young people that feel like they don't have a place and they don't belong, and suddenly somebody walks in and says, hey, I can give you purpose. And It's kind of like here in America, we have a problem with young folks, unfortunately, ending up in gangs. It's kind of like the same thing, to me.
I had a guy who worked with gangs, and he said he was shocked when he watched the film at how much he saw in common between gang mentality and what he saw in the film. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it is. I guess as humans, we're really not all that different.
Yeah, I think there are different political ideologies, but we need to check ourselves. When we long to have simple political solutions, life is complicated, politics is complicated, and we should be wary of people offering simple political solutions. It's a responsibility for people to acknowledge that the world is a complex place.
Yeah. Now, just...
That's very wordy. I hope that doesn't come across as too wordy.
Oh, no. Perfectly fine. So to go back, when you first got a hold of all of this footage, did you get a hold of the footage with the intent of doing a book and then potentially, the documentary, or did you just have this stuff land in your lap and then you suddenly saw the potential?
Well, the access was gained by our executive producer, whose name is Abdul Rahman al-Rashid. He's editor of Ashraf al-Awsat, which is the Arab world's largest daily newspaper, and he was then general manager of Al Arabiya, which is the main pro-Western news station in the Middle East. And so he had a lot of respect in the Middle East, and I think he'd heard about the footage and was able to gain access for us.
Okay, and when you got the access, did you guys move forward with the plan to write the book? Or
exactly. So once we got the access, we decided to write the book, because he also allowed us to do interviews with the Special Forces guys and their counter-terrorism police and so on. So we were able to get all of those reports. We decided that we were going to put all the exposition, all the kind of analysis, all the content into the book, and use the film to do what films do best, which is tell stories and create a sort of visceral documentary story.
Okay. Just to kind of put it out there, the book for Path of Blood is not... How can I say this? The documentary isn't a replacement for the book, nor is the book a replacement for the documentary, right? You should actually read the book.
Exactly. They complement each other, I hope. But the book is there. I think it's a good read. I think if people find it interesting, it would certainly be something that if people enjoy the film, they should read, because it'll give them much more understanding of the history and the context, much more detail on the individuals and so on. But you can enjoy the film. In fact, you will enjoy the film without knowing anything about the subject matter. It's just a way in to try and you'll meet these characters. You'll be caught up in a kind of cat and mouse thriller, and you'll understand more about this phenomena of jihadism, which is, in a way, it is the political phenomena of the 21st century.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that people knew that they could pick up more information in the book. Right. If they do enjoy the documentary, there's more to learn there.
Absolutely.
So, moving forward, with all the footage you guys have, do you think that there could be potential for more out of this footage, or do you think you've kind of told the story that you're wanting to tell?
I think, I felt like... It's very hard. The film is pretty much how I wanted it to be, I think. We had, a lot of directors will say, we had executive producers interfere. I had no interference in the film, so it came up as I wanted to. I wouldn't change it at all, I don't think. So, I'm not, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think, I could have made it longer, but I think 90 minutes is a good length for a documentary. I think that it tells the story in a crisp and succinct way. You're never bored. It's edge-of-your-seat stuff, and I think that's the way film should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the reason why I ask is because, you did have access to so much material, but if you told the story...
But if you didn't want it to be repetitive, you want to... It's just hit that note once. You see what I mean? And tell that story. And the challenge, the creative challenge was arcing the story in such a way that there was climaxes, twists, reverses, and surprises in the film. And that was the creative challenge in making it, I think.
And with you being 100% happy with how it is, you made the film that you wanted to be, you're completely happy with it, you're proud of it.
Absolutely. And we expected, I think a lot of people very suspicious of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has done a lot of bad things in the past, things that even the current regime now is acknowledging. But they didn't interfere in this film at all. The only thing that they ever asked us to do was blank out the face of a security agent or two, I think, who were in the background of shots, and to blank out some ID cards where we had some addresses of ordinary citizens who were on the stolen ID cards that the terrorists were using, so we had to blank that out. Like totally normal, understandable stuff.
Yeah, that's absolutely reasonable. Well, Jonathan, where can people check this out? I believe July 13th it's going to have premiered in New York?
Yes, that's right. So it's starting here and in the UK on July 13th. I think it's going to be in LA July 20th, and it's on other cities around America. PathofBloodFilm.com has all the listings there, so if people want to check that out, they can see if it's playing in their city. And it'll be available on demand as well, I think, from July 16th or something like that at any rate.
But that's information they can find on the website?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I want to make sure people can find it if they're interested in it.
Yeah, of course.
And do you have any social media that you jump on, or you one of those?
Path of Blood, we've got hashtag Path of Blood Film. Facebook is Path of Blood Film as well. So I think Instagram, same hashtag Path of Blood Film. So normal Instagram stuff, easy to remember.
Yeah. Just throw a hashtag in front of it and you got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and Jonathan, is there anything else you would like to tell our listeners about this labor of love? Because it sounds like it was a lot of labor, and you're happy with the end results. What can you?
I think the film. I think that the audience will find that the film is extremely memorable. You will, when you watch it, you'll be on the edge of your seat all the way through it, and you won't forget it for years to come. It will stay with you.
Powerful words. All right, Jonathan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about Path of Blood, and I wish you continued success on this. And
you're most welcome.
And it's been great talking to you. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back. If Path of Blood is something that might interest you, head over to the website pathofbloodfilm.com to see where you can check it out near you. I do again want to thank Jonathan Hacker for taking the time to answer some questions about his project, and I wish him the best. I also like to congratulate the crew that helped him on this endeavor, as it sounded like a long, painstaking process, which has finally paid off. If you do want to reach out to us, feel free to do so via email. You can reach us at podcast@genebooknerd.com, or you can find me on Twitter at NewMarkyMark, spelled N-U Marky Mark. That's going to wrap up this episode as we turn another page for genebooknerd.com.